Hey, what is it, Zaccheus? Would it not alive, word of the day? And thank you for tuning in. Those who tuned in for the first time, I thank you. And today I'm going to share with you the story of Job in the Bible. And the story of Job goes like, in the land of Oz, they lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had seven sons and 3 daughters, and he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys. He had a large number of servants. A large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all of people of the East. His sons used to take turns holding feast in their homes, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. So Job was a very wealthy man in the land of Oz, and he was a man that served the Lord and feared God. And but Satan came and he tested, told the Lord that the only reason why Job is so faithful and so loyal to you because he has all the things, the wealth, he has everything, and because he's rich and wealthy, this is why he's good and faithful to you, because he's rich and wealthy. And Job was tested. But when the period of feasting had run its course, Job would send and have them purified early in the morning, to sacrifice burnt offerings for each of them. But perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. This is what Job's regular custom. This is what they were saying. And one day, so when Job was tested, the um, Satan challenged God and said, if you take away all these things from Job, take all these things away from Job, Job will curse you. And he was tested. And Job was tested tremendously. He was tested tremendously. And in one course of one day, only one day, Job received a message, 4 messages, each bearing separate bad news, that his livestock, servants, 10 children have all died due to mass invaders or natural catastrophes. Job my gosh, he received all this bad messages. And then one day, imagine that, receiving all those messages, bad news in one day. In one day. So what did Job do? He sobbed and cried when he told his friend the message. Sobbed and cried because he was given such a bad message. So in those days, what they did when they was in grief, in sorrow, and in pain, they tore their garments and their head. Shaved their head, men shaved their head, and they ripped and torn their clothes, which is their garments. Yeah, and then 3 of Job's friends, 3 of them, um, Bildad, Zophar, and Ezra. Bildad, they asked him, "What have you done?" They asked Job, "What have you done?" Bildad asked him, "Job, what have you done to deserve this?" Zophar asked him the same thing. His friends, three of his friends asked him, "What have you done to deserve this curse? What have you done?" And Job said, I've been faithful to God. I don't know what I've done. I don't know what I've done. And Bildad said, "Well, it's something that you have done." And Zophar shook his head and agreed. It's something that you have done. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. But we don't understand what you've done. And to deserve this treatment. And Job continued to be faithful to God, despite his friends asking him questions on what he done. And then Job was afflicted with horrible skin sores. The friends noticed his skin was irritated, and they had some painful, horrible skin sores on Job, all over Job's body. He was afflicted with horrible skin sores all over his body, all over his entire body. But in spite all his losses, all his family, all his children, oxen, servants, all perished. He lost. Job lost it all. He became like a poor man with boils and sores all over his body. But yet he still gave God glory. Yet his despite his affliction, he still gave God glory. Despite his affliction, and Job went through a lot. Imagine losing all these things that you possess. Some people, when they lose a whole lot, sometimes they eat it. It's a lot of things that they do. They go into a deep depression. They consider taking their life. They consider all sort of things come in their mind. All sort of things come in their mind. Some people go through divorce. They go through a lot of stuff. Loss of a loved one. So much they go through. And Job lost it all. But yet, he still gave God glory. He still gave God glory despite Satan failed. And still, Job still give God glory. That means Job was a faithful man towards God. A faithful man towards God as God was faithful to him. But Job was tested. And when you're tested. And sometimes we go through tests. And only when we go through tests, some in heartaches and pain, for some of us, it makes us stronger. For some of us, it's a lesson. And for some of us, it's a keep carrying the torch. No matter what comes our way, no matter what happens, no matter what happens, as long as we stay faithful to the Lord, He has our back. And Job, although he lost a lot, easier said than done. Although he lost a lot, despite he losing everything, he still gave God glory. Even Job's very wife looked at him and said, "Why don't you just curse God and die?" His very wife said that. You lose everything. You lost everything. Just give it up. Just curse God and die now. Curse God and die. Wow. And at the end, Job's wealth, Job's health, and Job's had a new wife and family was restored. A reward for Job's faithfulness to God. Job's health was restored and his wealth was restored, and he was blessed with a new family. And Job continued to live for God. Despite his losses, God restored him with even more riches. God restored his family back. God restored Job's health back and his wealth. So the live word of the day is coming out of Luke chapter 16, verses 10. He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. And he who is unjust in what is least is also unjust and also in much. So if you're very little, if you're very have very if you if you're going through trials and tribulations in your life and you have challenges in your life, but yet you're still faithful, that means you're faithful in bigger things with God. And God is saying to you today, don't give up. There may be tests coming your way. Whether you're battling with your health, whether you're battling with your finances, or you're battling in relationships with your significant other, or your children, or your parents, challenges does come our way. Just like Job. Job lost a lot, lost it all. But because of his faithfulness, God blessed him with more. So we can learn a lesson from Job that despite your trials and tribulations, you can still give God the glory. There's healing when you give God glory. There's healing in your praises. There's healing in prayer. So I learned a story. Every time I read the story about Job, I always say that, man, when things seem to be tough and seem to be rough and it just seems to be rocky, the road just seems to be rocky, and you have a bad day, you just call out to the Lord. Just call his name and know that he's there with you. My sister and virgin out there, there'll be some times that we're facing, trials that we go through, trials that we face. But we know that when you call on the name of the Lord, if you call on the name of the Lord, I'm telling you, if you call on the name of the Lord, it may not happen overnight, but he'll give you the victory. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. You may be facing trials and tribulations in your life, but there's a light if you stay faithful to the Lord and you pray and ask God to get you out, to see you through. He's faithful to see you through. He's faithful to see you through. So don't give up. Don't give up. Keep praying. Keep moving. Keep it. Just trust the Lord that he'll carry you through. Although Job had a lot of loss, he still remained faithful to the Lord. He still remained faithful to the Lord. So I ask you today, if you're going through anything, keep praying. Keep praying, asking God to see you through. He'll see you through. Well, this is Zaccheus with another live word of the day. God bless and be safe out there. Until next time, peace and blessings.